talk about the oil spill today in the Deepwater Horizon. This is the 10th anniversary of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. 10 years later, we're now faced with our COVID virus. And this virus is small in comparison to the devastation and the destruction that that oil spill has wrought upon the Gulf Coast and the people that have lived here. And Kenny Thompson will tell you about his experience with the oil spill and the impact and the Corexit that was sprayed.
I was working for Angelo Petrandis, and we were 50 miles offshore of Apalachicola and 50 miles from Cedar Keys. And when the oil disbursement came out, I watched big jet planes spraying things on the water. I don't know what it was. You could look on the water and it kind of looked like pine pollen. It was yellow. And I got it all over my chest. Been 10 years. Every time when I sweat in the summertime, I break out in hives on my chest. And I never had that in my life before. Went to the doctor. They had no way to treat it. They could give me lotion to make it to where it didn't itch so much, but so what? I'll go to my grave with it. And you don't know what the fish have eat out there, what sediment went down to the bottom. They're swimming in all that environment that is totally, I wouldn't turn my children loose in it. Well, I saw the jets out there.
You saw, yeah, right. We saw the jets, but they were spraying.
And I saw them dropping stuff. Mm-hmm. And they say they didn't do it. I know I saw it. I'll take a lie detector test any day of the year. I know I saw it.
A month or so after the spraying. And right here in this bay, one day across the bay over in Fiddler's Point, Bottoms Road, I was up there at 2 o'clock in the morning just walking. My wife was sick with cancer, and I just needed to get out of the house. It was a bright, starry night, and I could hear this big plane coming.
Yeah.
And I looked up, and it was like this big shadow. There was not a light on the whole thing. It was just roaring along, coming slow, and I thought, I thought that was a dope plane for a while. I said, they haven't been doing that in a long time and bringing in marijuana and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, I didn't see anything there. A cloud came down, and I was suddenly choking. My eyes were burning. My mouth tasted like it was filled with metal. And I was just choking on the whole thing, and I couldn't put it in context. This plane came by, and the air was bad. And there were other people. Strunch Porter was out here, and his wife Boots, and they were floundering out there on the tide flats, and they got sprayed too. So what was happening was BP was spraying this Corexit, which is this dispersant that basically, even though the oil may not have been here, they were dousing the coast so that the oil didn't matter.
If there was oil here, they were putting it down regardless.
Kenny and I were talking this morning about the long-term ramifications. We think that this is going to go into our hereditary gene pool, that our gene pool has probably
our
been...
Our great-grandchildren will never overcome what they have put out.
And what we're basing this on is what we've seen in the difference in the Gulf of Mexico from the time of that spill to now. We've seen a loss of horseshoe crabs. We've seen a loss of sand dollars. We've seen the oyster bed in Apalachicola totally destroyed.
You can't even find an oyster in Oyster Bay. Used to, you go to every bar point and get 2 or 3 bags at least.
We lived on oysters and crabs and all that, and shrimp and all that stuff in these bays. Let me tell you, if I had to start Gulf Specimen Marine Lab now, it would have been impossible. Because I could go to the beach before that and just walk on the tide flats and pick up blood clams and dig up sea cucumbers.
Get horseshoe crabs. Horseshoe crabs be coming up on the beach.
hundreds, thousands of them, actually,
Yeah.
and they're gone.
So
They're just-
We don't see them anymore.
We've
I
seen,
caught 2 horseshoe crabs last time I went shrimp.
Yeah,
And it was like
in this time of year.
where'd they come from? And we were out there in 50 foot of water. They're supposed to be on the beach.
So, I mean, there's been disruptions and other things, and what concerns me most is that the cover-up that the BP did, and basically the,
I don't know what they could do, Jack, to overcome it.
I don't think it can be overcome at
No,
this
the-
point in time. It's too big and it's too vast, and they're still spraying it.
you know,
They're still using it right now, you know?
what this is leading into is they have a thing called Triumph Gulf Coast Economic something council. And this Triumph Gulf Coast is made up of Senator Getz, different, and the cover-up still continues. Funding goes to really expose the extent of the damage of the accident, the oil spill is. The funding is not available to people that want to do the research to really uncover ramifications of it.
Real.
The purse strings for the university is the research is being directed to saying this ain't so. What you have sitting right here is somebody that was a direct participant in the immediacy of that catastrophe. And he tells you what he saw, and it definitely happened.
It's real. I mean,
And, you know,
it doesn't get any more real than that.
and I had warned them when they had a big meeting at the FSU Marine Lab. And Coast Guard was there, FWC was there, there were groups of people, I don't know, that were brought in, and they would get up and talk about what to do, what the spill was, and they planned to actually use dispersant and mention that they were going to do this. Well, I had experience with this up at Woods Hole, I guess 15, 20 years before that, and the first thing that they said, the dispersants that they were using was much more toxic than the oil itself. The oil would
Right.
break down.
I believe
So
that.
what happened is I had to fight my way up to the podium because I was not being recognized by the director of the Marine Laboratory. It was like to shut me up in the middle of the room, and I had to get up there and say, look, do not use this dispersant. It's a bad, dangerous thing. And I even read a section of my book that talked about the oil spill and the impact and everything else. And I said the dispersant is the worst thing that we could do. Well, since then, I have been persona non grata, one way or the other. And, you know, when it came to funding with BP, I had to sue them and fight to get claims because we had to retrofit the whole lab. The only reason I was able to do it is I was able to go on the BBC World News, New York Times, and everything else like that, fight my way into it until they finally paid off. They didn't pay off for the other fishermen and for the other people, and it was a nasty fight all the way. And since then, the walls have been shut. The Triumph Gulf Coast Funds, which is supposed to be for this region and to help people, basically have shut me out. I have been denied flatly. Now the FSU Marine Lab got $8 million, and now they've got another $15 million, all to restore the Apalachicola Bay. I asked to be on their Citizens Advisory Committee. I had an interview. I talked to them. I was passed by completely. I asked why Felicia Coleman would not answer. They just made the decision. I was off. So anything that I knew, all my experiences, all the work that I have done, over 60 years working here, was basically,
Shot
we
out
don't
the
want
window.
let's shut out the window. We don't want to hear from you. But the millions of dollars that have flowed to that marine laboratory, the buying of this $1.25 million boat, all comes right out of the oil company and the oil spills. And it's a sad thing. But this is now, we're facing a crisis with our friend up here, and this may be a new ball game. They may have millions of dollars, but we are going to persist. We have no school groups here. We have no orders going out, but we're going to survive and we're going to persist because we have heart, we have energy, and we have honesty, and we're going to stick with our honesty. That's my soapbox.
Is our environment redeemable at this point? Are my grandchildren going to be able to have the same access to seafood, to fishing, to clean water, to clean air that I had? I used to go to Apalachicola, leave it here at 7 o'clock in the morning, be back here in Panacea at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with 40 bushels of oysters every day, 7 days a week, from the start of the season to the end of the season. And you can go down there now and you can't catch a bushel of oysters in a week. This is a change that I've seen, you know, and to me, the demise of the Apalachicola oyster beds are a direct result of the disbursement, the oil spill, the Deepwater Horizon catastrophe. So, you know, I'm not concerned about my future, but I am concerned about my grandchildren and their grandchildren's future. What's it going to be like for them? Is there a future?
Me and old Bill Metcalf down here lives on the corner down, right down here. We go out, have a little 28-foot lolly boat with a 25 horsepower motor. We didn't have no 200s or nothing like that. We would go out and he had 125 crab traps, and we would run that 125 crab traps, and we'd come in with over 3,000 pounds of blue crab. By lunchtime. You had to be in by lunchtime.
But they couldn't cook them.
Or they wouldn't cook.
Yep.
And we would do that every day.
Trucks would be driving up and down to the crab houses, and there'd be crabs spilling out, and I'd have crabs walking in the yard here, and into my house back to there, and they would get into the grocery store, right. Nature is strong, nature is tough. Nature has seen continents rise and fall, and we've seen great floods and everything else, and huge hurricanes and storms. This earth has been through a hell of a lot. The earth will overcome. Whether we and our population and our mentality right now and the greed and the avarice that exists in our Florida legislature and our Congress and our government and all the crooked politicians and all the crooked lobbyists, they may all get brushed aside. We may have to go back to the land. But I will say this, all those sand otters and things we were talking about, those things eat bacteria. They are part of the whole chain.
The filtration
filtration of the system is there. It's gone, it's broken right now. There are big, paper mills pouring crap out into the ocean just south of here. Then when all that comes to an end, nature will heal itself. And sooner or later, we're going to have to learn to live with nature. It's been a hard lesson. It's been taking a long time. We're going to have to sweep this aside, and we're going to have to go back to living with the land, on the land, and part of the land and part of the sea. What they're describing about that productivity of all those crabs and oysters and flounder we used to catch and everything else that is essentially 90% gone right now would come back and feed us. And that's what I'm trying to look for the future, and that's why I hope we get Gulf Specimen up and running again when this virus is over, and teach our kids. And I will not stand by and be shoved aside by the FSU Marine Laboratory with their now $28 million that they have to, with outreach programs, to start bringing in school groups for free and basically pushing us out. And this is what's been going on for a long time. It's getting worse and it's getting nastier all the time. We will stay here and we will survive.
I don't really give a damn what you people say or what you people say. I am going to overcome it.
So I'm hoping through this video history that Jack and I and Kenny that we're going to do, we're going to show what life was like here at one time.
But I don't think this is going to happen if we just go back to business as usual.
No.
This is a change to give the world a chance to stop, take a breath, think about what's there, and then think about
you hit the nail
errors.
On the head right there.
We need a respite. Our
Flop
friend up here, our enemy, but maybe also our friend in the end. Wildlife is starting to come back. They're starting to see creatures on the streets. The other day we had a black snake come over here and eat a lizard. And he was sitting in there, and I was thinking, my God, a year ago there would have been, 300 kids walking through the aquarium and everything else. And here we watch this black snake sitting there enjoying himself eating this lizard. Lizard didn't like it too much. But anyway,
That's it.
that was nature. So I'm saying the connection of this coming back is possible, but we cannot go back to it again. We cannot have the Getzes sitting there grabbing the money and throwing it out to their buddies and everything else. We have to start working for the people. We can't have greedy, crooked, slimy politicians We want creatures, and we want connections, and we want people and human connections. We're not going to get that in the towers of government. We're not going to get that out of the ivory towers of the university. We're going to have to get that among our community and among our people. And I hope we can do this. And if we can get this past us, and the virus can get eaten up by the woods and the trees and the plants and all that, and the subdivisions will go away, and the developers will have to go find something else to do because we need to get rid of them. They're not helping.
I'm hoping through this, Jack, that you can keep Gulf Specimen viable, where my grandchildren can come down here and touch a calico crab, touch a sea robin, watch shrimp, and have what Gulf Specimen has offered for so many years. I'm hoping that we don't, the economic gets so bad that you can no longer keep Gulf Specimen going. So I'm going to ask people that watch this, within your means, try to do what you can to help Jack, his son Guy in Cyprus, this lovely young lady keep going and keep Gulf Specimen open here on a very limited basis. As helpless as I feel, that would be a very, very good step towards keeping what we were talking about, our freedom, our productivity, our ability to experience nature open here in Panacea, Florida.
Most people don't really know what Panacea means. Panacea is cure-all.
That's right. And if it is a cure-all from the Greek goddess of Panacea, who went out into the woods and got potions and plants and other things like that to cure people of really serious diseases and everything else. This is a panacea. This is this microcosm, nowhere place in the middle of nothing at all, and it is from here which we were going to bring back the world and nature.
Jack has survived on here is the generosity of people that see what he sees and want to continue to let their children come in here and touch something in a touch tank. Not go to SeaWorld and look at something through a big piece of glass. Come to Panacea, step up on a little stool, put their hand into water and touch a calico crab.
Because we get no government funding. I mean, EPA has said no. NOAA Fisheries said go away. FWC said stay away. We want no part of you. Triumph Gulf Coast. We spent a year and a half writing a proposal, working it up because it was supposed to be for this region, and they said, hell no, go away. And we got their final go away letter right in the middle of this pandemic that's going on, when everything is closed down and everything else, saying, no, you are not sufficient to get funds. You do not meet our criteria, our capabilities. And let me say, their capability is to get people off the water, to develop so-called alternatives, because if the Gulf crashes, then they should go be able to work on computers or build aircraft or whatever else it is. That's crap. We have the Gulf has fed us, this is where we should be going. We should take their money, put it in airplanes and spray it over here and fire those people.
I don't know what they want to do with our Gulf. They don't want us out there.
No, they don't. They don't. All these regulations with fisheries was accomplishing anything, but it really isn't accomplishing that much. And then when it really came to pollution and it came to the oil spill, where were those fisheries people fighting? We had the Department of Agriculture here get up and say, there is no oil getting into the seafood whatsoever. And I was saying, what about being sprayed and what about that? And they says, oh, it didn't happen. And I said, so you're calling us a liar? No, we don't know what happened to you, but we're not saying that happens. And at the same time, out in the Royal Red Bottoms, in 200 fathoms, they were bringing up tar balls and everything and oil right with the shrimp. And you caught tar balls, right. So I mean,
off of Cape Sandblast.
But they're saying it doesn't happen. I hate to say it, but don't trust your government. And this is our government, this is our country. But I'd say this to people worldwide, don't trust your government. Trust your neighbors, trust your people, trust your culture, trust your environment, not the politician.
I hope that everybody take time to smell the roses, and all of us can come together and make this world a better place to live in.